Good morning, everyone. This is Erin Pettigrew. I'm the Deputy State Long-Term Care Ombudsman with the Ohio Department of Aging, and we are so happy that you were able to join us today as we look to kick off our resident and family satisfaction surveys and update you on our current processes and how we will be developing our surveys going forward. Before diving into the details, I want to acknowledge and thank the Nursing Home Quality and Accountability Task Force. Their final recommendations were delivered to Governor DeWine in May 2023, and they reflected the voices of residents, families, providers, and advocates across the state. So today I'll share how that feedback helped shape improvements in our family satisfaction survey process. So during the task force, as many of you were involved, we spoke with stakeholders across the state, and several opportunities to improve the survey process became clear to us. Providers shared that delayed survey results often rendered the data outdated by the time it reached them. That issue was exacerbated by the alternating schedule of the resident and family surveys. We consistently heard that while providers value data as a way to improve their processes and strive for high quality care, it wasn't always actionable by the time it arrived. Participation rates had also declined, both from the facilities and the family members. Post-pandemic fatigue and the removal of the survey's connection to Medicaid quality measures were key factors in this. The feedback we received made it clear. The value of the satisfaction surveys hinges on it being timely, relevant, and usable for those doing this work. One of the clear takeaways from the task force was the need to strengthen guide decisions, not just at the state level, but in facilities and for the public as well. To that end, the recommendation was to build a public-facing portal, one that's both accessible and easy to understand, with dashboards that provide real-time nursing home-specific information. This isn't just about transparency. It's about giving both consumers and nursing home staff the tools they can use. The Ohio Department of Aging launched the Long-Term Care Quality Navigator to fulfill this vital need. We were also challenged to improve how we collect data. That means gathering feedback from residents and their families more often and doing it in ways that reflect today's technology, not yesterday's processes. At its core, this is about making data visual, meaningful, and actionable. As a result of those findings, the task force challenged us with several approaches to alleviate the pain points, as well as improve our processes to better serve the public and the facilities. To better understand how we could improve both the resident and family satisfaction surveys, we engaged Scripps and Vital Research to conduct a thorough process evaluation. This included a historical review of Ohio's surveys, a national scan of similar models, and direct engagement with stakeholders, the facility staff, the family members, and residents through interviews and focus groups. We've also added a new team member to help manage the process. Janine Hampton is our new survey and reporting manager. She'll oversee the satisfaction survey contracts and ensure results that are integrated into the Long-Term Care Quality Navigator. The evaluation identified several key areas for improvement. First, we need to raise awareness about the purpose and the value of the surveys, not just among the providers, but among the public and long-term care advocates. We also heard a strong call to make it easier for facilities to share and promote the surveys, by way of providing user-friendly materials to spread awareness of the surveys and encourage the participation of residents and families. Another key finding was the importance of better coordinating both the resident and family surveys by streamlining the process to ease the burden on facilities and help boost participation across the board. To be most useful, survey data needs to be available sooner and more frequently. We're making a major shift in how and when surveys are administered. Instead of alternating family and resident surveys each year, we hope to conduct both annually. Additionally, based on feedback, we'll be reporting results throughout the survey and then posting them online at the midpoint and again at the end, giving facilities timely information they can act upon sooner. Facilities also requested clearer guidance on interpreting and applying the results. In response, we're developing a quality improvement guide in collaboration with the Ohio Person-Centered Care Coalition, Excel, PrEP, and our survey advisory group that I'll discuss in a moment. This guide will include domain and question-specific resources to help turn data into action. Another important insight from the evaluation was the need to analyze the experiences of specific populations, especially individuals in memory care settings, compared to those in general nursing home or assisted living settings. This will help us better understand and support diverse resident needs. We're also responding to the evolving long-term care landscape. That includes piloting a new short stay survey among residents in 2025, with the goal of developing strong statewide recommendation based on those findings in 2026. These steps will ensure that our data reflects the full range of resident experiences and supports better care for all. Finally, we're continuing to increase public awareness of the Long-Term Care Quality Navigator to help more people make better and informed care decisions. So as you can tell, we're making some shifts in how and when we administer the surveys. Under the previous design, resident and family surveys alternated every year, which caused delays and disconnected data cycles. Moving forward, we were transitioning to annual surveys for both groups, hopefully to bring more consistency to the process. Residents and families will be surveyed almost concurrently, reducing the facility burden by limiting survey engagement to one cohesive period. Previously, survey results were only released after all of the data collection was finished. In the new design, we'll share results with the facilities throughout the process, and we'll post them on the Navigator midway through the collection period from those facilities and families that were surveyed. And again, after the final data collection point, so the facilities have more timely insights. The goal here is to ensure that facilities are given sufficient time to quickly act upon the responses from their families and residents to work on the improvements. Finally, the previous surveys only focused on long-term care residents. With the new approach, we're trying to add a survey for short stay residents as well, capturing the broader continuum of care. So let's talk briefly about the new survey instruments that will be in use throughout the survey cycle. For the most part, providers and residents and families will find that they look and feel much like our last survey cycle. The tools went through an extensive review following the pandemic. We wondered if residents and families felt differently or more strongly about certain domains or questions after experiencing that disruption in their lives. But frankly, many of the focus areas remain the same. For this iteration, we felt critical for facilities to have some apples-to-apples comparison of their performance over time. We have not had that benefit since before the interrupted 2019 cycle that had to stop early due to the pandemic. That said, after every survey cycle, we make some minor changes in response to resident families and interviewer feedback. So I'll walk through some of those changes next. So this is starting with the assisted living resident survey. After each iteration, as I said, we've made some minor changes just to clarify things for the residents. This is where interviewers gave us feedback that they needed to use a lot of probes or that residents asked for more specificity. So for instance, we had several questions that discussed residents being able to get around, either in their room or out of doors. Interviewers said that residents disputed being able to get around because they needed the help of family or staff. So several questions we adapted to reflect with or without assistance this year. A question we cut was about being alone because we have another question about privacy. Residents felt we were just rephrasing the same question, so we took the opportunity to eliminate a question. We also changed, are you encouraged to speak up about things you don't like here? The probe would have been, your bathing schedule, the food, or your room. We wanted to make it more about the resident's comfort with making a complaint. So we changed it to, do you feel comfortable speaking up about things you don't like here? Because that's something a facility could actively do and ensure their comfort, rather than saying they were encouraging them to complain, as the question might have implied. So on the nursing home resident side, similar revisions were seen, as you'll see here. We added the with or without assistance questions, and we removed that place to be alone question. One difference you'll note is some clarifications about the food, always the favorite part of the survey for residents to share with us. We clarified input on the food to, can you ask for different food to be added to the menu? And do you get fresh fruit and vegetables instead of fresh food options? For both of those, interviewers received many follow-up questions and almost always had to use the additional prompts during the survey interviewers. Facilities can take better action, knowing that a resident may want to ask for a different food, rather than just knowing residents want to give input, which isn't as clear. And again, continuing with the resident nursing home changes, similar revisions were made that reflect the AL surveys. So there's going to be some continuity between the surveys. And it's a way for facilities to address common concerns. Moving now to the family survey, you'll see additional questions here that reflected the family feedback, written responses, and our attempt to align more questions with the resident survey to get better comparable results. On the assisted living side, we made some more clarifying words here. Going outside if they want was a note that many families made, since some commented that their loved ones didn't want to leave their apartment or unit. And so now a provider knows better what to work on without wondering whether they should be bringing people outside who don't want to go. The question about being confident that staff would help your resident beyond their personal care needs, if you cannot, seemed wordy and probably excessive. So we shortened that to, do you feel confident that staff will follow through with addressing your concerns? Again, just a little bit more clarity and a little easier for families and the facilities to discern what the intent was. So now moving to the nursing home family, you'll see some of those same questions, same probe about something enjoyable to look forward to most days. We gave some probe examples like listening to music, meal times, communication, and an activity perhaps. We also made that same question about following through with concerns. And we had this last question about, do staff do a good job keeping the resident connected to the community? And I know in many of our provider settings, community means the campus. We wanted to make sure that they knew that meant outside of the nursing home, the broader community or the town, for instance. And then a few additional wording changes just to clarify things for the families who are answering this question. So some survey additions for both sides. We have a lot of people answering the activity questions that answer in a don't know or not applicable way. So it was clear through that feedback that the questions we were asking didn't always reflect the residents' abilities. So many families and their residents acknowledged that there are robust activity calendars, but they weren't able to participate due to physical or mobility impairments. So we did add the question about, do the activities provided match the abilities? Families particularly were concerned about healthy food options. And then, as you know, we we're trying to identify memory care, and that has been a challenge because, as you know, we can pull MDS data to identify residents of nursing homes with significant cognitive impairment, but there are no corresponding data points for residents in the RCS or for the family members. So we're going to add an identifier at the beginning of the survey to try to parse out those populations. A little about our timeline going forward. So here we are today at our kickoff webinar. We will also be creating an informational webinar for providers and another one that's more publicly facing. So for families particularly who may receive this in the mail, we want them to know it is not in fact a scam and that it is a tool for us to get their input and information that we want to share. Facility scheduling will start very soon. We have training for our interviewers and basically a step out into the main survey data collection period at the beginning of August. And so we will begin scheduling facilities probably in July to be able to get those buildings on the calendar. We are working on that short stay pilot. So we will begin mailing that short stay survey to recently discharged residents. That is in collaboration with the Ohio Department of Medicaid, who is able to get us some information about those residents. By fall of 2025, we will be in the thick of it. Family and resident surveys will be going on a rolling basis. Facilities will start to receive their preliminary reports after their surveys occur, so they can begin working on their quality improvement activities. Data analysis and public reporting will be ongoing. As I mentioned, about halfway through the survey process, we hope to pop up all of the available data onto the Navigator. And then in the winter and spring, we will continue that analysis and have public reporting of the final results posted on the Navigator as we end the facility-based rolling surveys. The short stay survey will we'll have some draft results and we'll have some recommended movement to move forward with that process. And then we'll have a debrief webinar. We'd like to launch a new way of sharing the data publicly. You know, what is our analysis finding? What are we seeing as trends? What are the opportunities for employment or improvement across the settings? What are areas that we're doing really well in? And then we'll start to prepare for 2026 data collection. After feedback, we hope to be able to launch a short stay survey on a statewide basis. And then always engaging in some continuous process improvement so that we can see how these surveys are received, are they being used, and what can we do to make them better. I rolled out that timeline, but let's talk about some next steps. So we do need to communicate with our providers. We have created a project website on at the Ohio Department of Aging that will contain most of the sample tools, the provider communications, outreach materials they can use. We'll also have instructions and the way to do the survey, so uploading their census lists and other instructions that they'll receive. And we want to engage a stakeholder advisory group. Many of you on this webinar today are probably going to be members. So we want to get your improvement or input into the quality improvement guide that we're going to be working on. And we want to look forward to other opportunities for you to give us their feedback. We know that for many facilities, this is a new process for them. They're new to the system. And then even those who are familiar with it, the rhythm may feel unfamiliar. So if those of you who haven't engaged with it for a few years, we want to get you back into the swing of things. And we're also focused on some strong communication with your providers and creating tools that are friendly and accessible. So we'll continue to engage with those of you along with other interested parties through the stakeholder advocacy group. We hope to have our first maybe official meeting in a couple of months after things have gotten started. And we welcome your input to continue to shape the guide and other updates. At this time, I would like to introduce our partners. This is Vital Research and Scripps Gerontology Center. So during the webinar, you've learned about our updates for both the resident and family surveys, and now Vital Research and Scripps are going to address the new process. So I'm going to hand it over to Peter Spewitt, who is the Director of Aging and Disabilities at Vital Research, followed by Jennifer Heston Mullins, who's the Associate Director of Research and Senior Research Scholar of Scripps Gerontology Center through Miami University. That's a mouthful. Both Peter and Jennifer will address the new process of our satisfaction surveys. And then once they're finished elaborating on our new processes, we're going to take a brief pause and then move into a quick Q&A session for those who may have questions about what was shared today. So let me move forward to Peter's slide.
Thank you. Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Peter Spewitt, and it is a pleasure to be with you today for today's webinar. As Erin mentioned, I am the Director of Aging and Disabilities Research at Vital Research. I'll briefly highlight a few key improvements and priorities for the 2025 resident and family satisfaction surveys on this slide. All this will be done in partnership with ODA and Scripps and facilities and other key stakeholders. And I'll just note many of these items will echo some things Erin has already shared so well earlier in the presentation. So first, a big change is we'll be administering the resident and family surveys at the same time in a very coordinated way. This allows for coordinated communication with facilities, and we think this will make the process more efficient for everyone involved, most especially facilities. Second, we'll provide more promotional materials to facilities about the surveys. We think these will help inform residents, guardians, and family members, and should really help boost participation across both resident and family surveys. Third, as Erin mentioned earlier, we're going to be providing much clearer guidance on interpreting and using the survey results. Through the facility reports, we'll include good suggestions for applying results so that they can be used for quality improvement initiatives. And as Erin mentioned earlier, as an outcome of the recent evaluation we helped with, Vital will be pilot testing a new short stay resident satisfaction survey during this calendar year in 2025. This testing, I want to emphasize, will occur separately from the standard resident and family survey process. Since this pilot test will focus on people who have recently discharged from a facility, it will not apply to a facility's current resident population at all. All current residents will still have a chance to participate in the standard resident satisfaction survey this year. As Erin also mentioned earlier in the presentation, we're going to have some special attention paid to two groups that we'll be interacting with through the resident surveys this year. First, people or residents with memory concerns. For nursing facility residents with memory concerns, we'll continue to use MDS or minimum data set data to screen residents for dementia, and based on those results, remove certain residents from the survey sample. For residential care facilities, interviewers will continue to use very robust protocols to identify eligible respondents based on their memory care concerns. And at the same time, interviewers will also record which respondents are being served in specific memory care areas. This will help us some with what Erin mentioned before, doing some additional analysis about survey results for people with memory care concerns compared to people who don't have noted memory care concerns. A second special group we'll be paying attention to this cycle is people receiving residential care services through the AAL waiver or assisted living waiver. VITAL will be analyzing survey results at the facility level to compare survey responses for people who are supported by the AL waiver to other respondents who aren't on the AL waiver. So that'll be interesting to see what kind of findings we may have at the end of the cycle based on that. Finally, as Erin also mentioned earlier, there'll be a robust project website that will support both surveys. And as Erin mentioned before, so important, survey results will be available much sooner. Midway through data collection, for those facilities that participate earlier in the process, they would receive their results more midway through the process. And for those who participate in data collection later in the cycle, they would receive their results at the end of the cycle. VITAL really looks forward to partnering with stakeholders across the state of Ohio to implement this important work together in 2025. And now I want to turn it over to my colleague, Jennifer at Scripps. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Heston Mullins, and as Erin mentioned, I'm the Associate Director of Research and a Senior Research Scholar at Miami University's Scripps Gerontology Center. Scripps has been engaged with the Ohio Family Satisfaction Surveys since they started almost 25 years ago. I'm excited to share with you some new strategies we've developed for this implementation of the Family Satisfaction Survey, with the goals of boosting the rate of completed surveys and increasing the number of facilities who have enough returned surveys to receive individual facility results. Families will first receive an introduction letter explaining the survey process and inviting them to complete the survey online. The second contact with families will include mailing a paper survey packet to those who have not completed the online version of the survey. After those two contacts, Scripps will make telephone calls to follow up with family members who have not yet completed the survey, reminding them to complete the survey, and if desired, Scripps project staff will assist the family member with completing the survey during the follow-up call by verbally asking the questions and entering the family member's responses directly into the online survey. This new parallel process with VITAL allows the resident and family survey teams to collaborate in ways that we believe will make it easier for facilities, residents, and families to participate, such as simplifying the census and family list submission process to reduce the number of communications and requests to facilities for information. As Peter shared, there will be a dedicated web page for the surveys, which will function as a one-stop shop for information and resources. And we're producing facility-level reports twice during the survey process, similar to the resident survey, at the halfway point of administration and at the completion of the second half of administration. This will give facilities access to their individual results closer to the point at which these data are collected, so facilities can use their results to take timely action.